Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Fit and Live Instagram page. What am I doing here? Well, I'm Rachel Fitz-D and I'm here this morning doing an Instagram Live takeover for Fit&Well, and we're going to be looking all at the fourth trimester. Now, what you want to know first is, who the heck am I? Well, I'm Rachel Fitz-Disorga, but I'm usually known as Rachel Fitz-D because that's easier. And I am a baby and parenting expert, and I spent, I hate to say really, but it's well over 30 years as a specialist midwife and infant feeding consultant. And alongside that, I was trained and worked as a parenting consultant. Now then, I do parenting from tiny weeny newborn babies all the way up to teenage years. But this morning, we are going to be looking at the very first little bit of life after your baby's born. Now, don't worry if you can't catch it all this morning, because this is going to be saved over onto IGTV so that you can catch up with it later. Now, I hope you've all had a good breakfast. I was going to have a breakfast, actually. I'd got my breakfast planned, and then do you know what? 5 minutes extra in bed felt like a better idea. So if you hear what sounds like a juggernaut going along the back of our house, it's actually my stomach rumbling. I said to my bloke this morning, I'm going to have breakfast later. Now then, first things first, we need to think about what even is the fourth trimester. Do you know, it's not long ago that term didn't exist at all, but we were still having babies. So even if you don't understand the term, it doesn't matter. But what it refers to is the first 3 months of life with the baby on the outside. So midwives will always talk about your pregnancy in terms of trimesters. We take that 9 months-ish of pregnancy and we chop it up into 3 bits of 3. The first trimester, the second trimester, and the third trimester. So why are we talking about a specific time when the baby's born? Now, I was always a little bit when people first started talking about the fourth trimester this and the fourth trimester the other, because I'm not a great one for trying to sort of label things. You know, life isn't just a label. It's a little chaotic, a little bit hang loose, a bit of this, bit of that. But you know what? I've come to see it as very useful terminology. Because you see, when our baby is born, our baby has come from the watery womb and was highly, highly evolved for that environment. Beautifully evolved. So special substances on the baby's skin that not only nourished the skin, but protected the skin from this 9 months in a bath. And also, ladies, the covering on a baby when they're inside the womb helps to lubricate them on the way out. Hey, evolution. Thanks for that one. That's good to know, isn't it? Anyone who's out there who's pregnant, your baby is covered in something called vernix, which is like a thick white lard, and it helps them come out more easily to make it more comfortable for you, easier for you, protect your tissues. So the baby's skin is evolved for that. The baby's heart is specially adapted for life inside the womb. The way that the blood flows around the baby is adapted to being inside water. And then the baby comes out and it has to change and adapt at a time when not only is it very vulnerable, you know, it can't walk or run away from danger, but do you know what? We'd like to think that we will know what we're doing, but an awful lot of babies, let's be honest, especially if it's a first time mum, and I've got 4 babies, so I know what it's like. I've been there. But with that first time mum, you know, we might even not know what we're doing. We may even feel a little bit sort of, I'm not sure about this baby. I'm not sure you're what I was expecting. And the baby has to survive in that new environment with a mother who may not know what she's doing, may not even know how she feels emotionally about this baby yet. So you can think about the fourth trimester like this. It is when the baby is making that slow transition, which takes about 3 months from womb life to room life. Room life to room life. Now what we're going to do, and you can drop your questions down. I can see everybody is joining. So hi everybody. I hope you've had more of a breakfast than I've managed. I'm Rachel Fitz-D, and we're talking here about the fourth trimester, which is the first 3 months of the baby's life, from womb life to room life. And what we're going to look at is, I want to look at one thing which is on the face of it quite simple, but it tells you fundamentally the massive changes that are taking place within the baby. There's so much to cover, we can't cover it all, and I want to take your questions. But then I also want to look at how the baby is highly evolved to have certain features, certain behaviours to make sure that they survive in this new world, potentially with a mum who, one, doesn't know what the heck she's doing, and two, isn't quite sure what she feels about the baby yet. Now then, the first one I want to have a little look at is the biggest organ in the baby's body. Now, if I was to ask you to guess what you think is the biggest organ in the baby's body, you might say the lungs, the liver, the brain, the pancreas. But you'd be wrong, because the biggest organ in the human body is the skin. And I've just said that when the baby's inside, the baby's skin, the womb skin, is beautifully adapted for womb life. But when that baby is born, and immediately phenomenal changes take place, the way that the blood goes around the heart and goes from the heart around the body changes with those first few breaths. The lungs expand and work fully, properly for the first time. The brain is firing on all cylinders under the action of massive doses of adrenaline. But that skin, the largest skin in the largest organ in the human body, has come out of the womb, where it was highly evolved, into a completely different setting. So one of the first things that happens for a baby in that first few weeks of life is that they shed their skin. They shed their skin. And I tell you this because nobody really tells you about it. People talk about babies having dry skin and having to oil it. And I'm here to tell you, no, don't do that. Because the baby's skin is changing from its womb skin. That's all going to come off. I promise you, it's all going to come off. And underneath will be the first room skin. So what happens is this. Within that first few days of the baby's life, you're going to notice ding, 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 ding. They look like little heat bumps coming up, and people say, what is it? And midwives say, that's called erythema neonatorum. And you think, blimey. And erythema neonatorum just means your baby's red and spotty and we have no idea why. Ping, 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 like little heat bumps, and then they go down and then they come up again. And we're not really sure what's going on. We know it's harmless. We know it's normal. It isn't heat bumps, but it's part of that change from womb skin to room skin. So you'll see that to begin with. And then what? Well, after that, the womb skin actually starts to go dry and it sheds. It sheds. I promise you that this is going to be what happens. Hands up if you've already had a baby. Hands up. Now then, keep your hands up if you remember taking your baby's baby grow off in that first week or two of life, and it's, think, what the heck happened there? It's like somebody has taken the lid off one of those snow globes and all the glitters come out everywhere, skin flakes everywhere. Keep your hand up if you remember that and thought, oh my word, what's happening here? It's phenomenal. Luckily, I was a midwife before I'd had my kids, so I thought, here we go. womb life to room life, womb skin to room skin. It all starts coming off and mums panic because nobody's told them. The whole lot's going to come off. You're going to notice, let me just get my helpful assistant here, who is called Dilys. She has a lovely baby girl on this morning, actually. But you'll notice that on Dilys, can you see that she's a little bit red around here because she's a new baby? So often you'll see all the skin coming off here and then little red lines around here. And let me see on her little foot, little dry creases. There we go. Thank you very much, Dilys. So it all comes off and it looks dry and a little bit cracked. And so what do mums do? Well, they get the oil, and everyone's in for coconut oil or olive oil, and they start plastering it on their baby in the mistaken belief that they can stick the skin back on. And you can't. That skin has got to come off. And putting anything other than water on the baby's skin does what midwives say interferes with the skin integrity, which just means it's bad for the skin. You've got to let the skin do its thing. The skin cells are dead. This was the womb skin. It's dying, it's shedding, it's all just flaking off, filling your room. When you dust later, you'll think, there's my baby's womb skin. All coming off to be replaced with the most beautiful first room skin, which is lovely and different. You won't be able to see a difference, but I'm telling you this, it is a different type of skin. So never, ever, 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 ladies, when your baby is shedding their skin, preferably further on than that, try to moisturize that skin with oils. Coconut oil, you might like it, bad for baby's skin. Olive oil, no way, Jose, you may like it on your skin, bad for baby's skin. In fact, the Royal College of Midwives did a survey looking into oils to see if there was one that was any good, and they all disrupted, interfered with, irritated the integrity, the normal working of the baby's skin. So don't panic when everybody's saying, oh, your baby's skin is so dry. Do you think it's eczema? Do you think there's something wrong? Do you think they're sensitive? Is it something that I'm washing the clothes with? Don't worry. Womb skin, room skin, coming in. Now, as that room skin settles down, you're going to notice over some weeks, really, ladies, really some weeks, that the baby then starts getting really spotty, and it's called baby acne out there in the big wide world. Midwives still call it erythema, but you can call it baby acne, milk spots, some people call it. It is nothing to do with what the baby's eating or not eating, what you're eating, not eating. This is the hormones that have gone through your placenta to your baby, working its way through the baby, and the baby comes out in what looks like teenage spots, really, really teenagey spots. So that's why it's called baby acne across the Google sphere. So ding, 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 and they look angry. So gone is the womb skin, in comes this beautiful, beautiful room skin, and just when you think, oh, my baby looks like peaches, soft and beautiful, let's take my baby out and show them to the whole world, at least next door, and they come out in all these crops of spots that look really, really red and angry. And again, they frighten mums and they think, what am I eating? What am I doing? What am I not eating? What's going through into my milk? What should I be putting on my baby's skin? What shouldn't I be putting on my baby's skin? This baby acne is normal. Normal. It's okay. Rule of thumb with babies, if your baby is otherwise well, if your baby's peeing, pooing, a normal colour, when you pick them up, come up here. Now, Dilys isn't a very good model at this because she's just a doll. But when you pick your baby up, oh, come up here, pickle. They kind of, they know they're being picked up. Sometimes they grumble like a little hedgehog, like that. when they're in your arms, when they're being soothed, they calm down a little bit. As long as they're in arms, they're okay. If that's happening with your baby, they're peeing, they're pooing, they're a nice colour, they've got good tone, they're active, they're doing the things that you expect a baby to do, which is to, well, we'll come to that in a minute. Then your baby is okay and you're looking at baby acne. What do you do with your baby's skin then? Well, the first thing we've said, don't put anything on your baby's skin except water. Water all the way. Dry your baby after. Water baths, warm water with a nice warm soft towel. Never put products, lotions, oils, bin them or give them to your next door neighbour or keep them for yourself, but they're not appropriate for a baby's skin no matter what the adverts tell you. And then for your baby's clothes, your partner's clothes, so all those people are going to be in close daily contact with the baby, wash those clothes in a non-bio, non-perfumed liquid. Non-perfumed, so the big names say we're non-bio, but lots of perfume. We see a lot of problems with irritation of the babies. So non-bio, non-perfumed washing, liquid washes out more quickly. And then really rinse those clothes. I always have my washing machine when I've got little babies in the house on double rinse to get those chemicals out of the clothes. And then don't use fabric softener. So you're keeping everything as pure as possible. Now then, as I say, even with doing that, your baby's going to ding, 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 get this acne. They come up in crops, they die down, they come up again. You'll think it's because your baby's too hot. Across the back, all across the face, sometimes little ones up and down the arms. Leave them alone. Carry on with what I've said, just using water. When should you call a GP? If your baby's unwell, has a fever, if you take a glass and press them over, if the baby looks really rashy, press that clear glass over the rash. If that rash doesn't disappear, you need someone to see your baby now. If you can't get hold of your GP, then a non-fading rash under a glass is a cause to go up to A&E. But otherwise, a fever, your baby just not themselves, pale, lethargic. If those spots, hello, I think we may have a visitor. This is very unusual, but we may have a visitor in a minute. I think my cat Betty might come up and say hello. So if those spots, they really do look quite angry, as I say, but if they look really pussy, then again, get them checked by your GP. 99 times out of 100, your GP is going to say, it's just a really bad case of baby acne, but you're all right, keep an eye on it and come back if your baby has a fever, seems unwell. So there we go. Now we have talked about baby skin, the change from the womb skin to the room skin. Let's think a little bit more about how our baby is highly evolved to make that transition from womb life to room life. Betty is playing with my earphones. Let's just with that. If you can hear her clicking, say hi, Betty. Betty, behave yourself. Now then, if you have got any questions at all, pop them down now, and then I'll see them coming up. Any questions? We're talking here about newborn babies for the first 3 months of life, but any questions at all, pick my brains. That's what I'm here for. So we thought about the biggest organ in the human body, which is the skin, and how that amazing, amazing, highly evolved baby's skin sheds that first skin, and here comes Betty, and then you get the lovely, lovely room skin. And then that room skin has to do certain jobs of coping with the changes, and you'll see some spots. Remembering that the baby acne seems to be caused by the passing out of your hormones, just like with teenagers, as the hormones that have got into your baby via the placenta, as those start to leave the baby's system, the baby does go through this baby acne stage. Now then, what I want to think about next, and please, I say, drop your questions in as we go, because some of this stuff that I'm going to talk about now is a bit like, whoa. We're going to talk about how your baby is highly evolved in certain behaviours that no one tells you about. The first one I want to tell you about is sleep. Now, if you go and Google, how much should a baby sleep? Honestly, you are going to get 1,000 different answers, and none of them will look like your baby, your newborn baby. So the books, Google, mums whose babies also aren't sleeping, but they will also tell you that babies should be sleeping for 15 hours a day, 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day, 20 hours a day. Fill in the blanks. And then you look at the baby in your arms who nods off periodically, and then the slightest hint of provocation, the baby wakes up again, and you'll think, there is no way my baby is getting enough sleep. No wonder they're grumpy whenever I try and put them down for sleep, because they're knackered. And of all my poster boxes, in all of my 30 plus years as a specialist midwife and a baby and parenting expert, the biggest topic actually at any age of babies, toddlers, and teenagers, it's sleep. Because the books never describe to you how babies, toddlers, teenagers, adults sleep. They just talk about how many hours. They're all about numbers. So babies do sleep. They sleep a lot, but not like you expect it to look. Why? Because the human baby in that first 3 months of life is highly evolved, preset to, one, make sure that they survive in a universe where mum may not even, excuse me, I'll have a drink of water in a minute, I've got some water. One, where mum may not even know what she's doing, and two, where mum may feel a little bit unsure about her feelings towards baby. So baby's got to be highly evolved to survive that experience. And on top of that, they've got to be highly evolved to make that mum know what she's doing and grow to love that baby so deeply that she will never abandon the baby. And you think, surely that happens at birth. Well, it doesn't. We now know that it takes that full 3 months, that fourth trimester, for bonding and attachment to take place. And I'm not talking about that big movement now called attachment parenting. I'm not talking about that at all. That's quite different. I'm talking about the organic changes that take place in the baby's brain and in the mum's brain that forges, that creates this deep physical and emotional bond for life. And that's what scientists and midwives and parenting consultants are talking about when they talk about bonding and attachment. They're talking about those organic processes that happen within the brain, the changes that take place in the baby's brain and the mum's brain, that makes you get to a situation where you know what you're doing and you are so deeply attached to one another that baby's going to be safe for life, never going to be abandoned. And that process takes those 3 months. That's why we call it the fourth trimester. Tri being 3. So, excuse me when I have a bit of water. Now then. So what behaviours will you see? Well, the most marked behaviour that you will see is the way that babies settle and sleep. The way that babies are highly evolved to settle and sleep is right here in your arms. So if you've ever had a baby, you will know those months when you complain to everybody saying, My baby won't go down. My baby's fine, but only if I cuddle her. I can never get anything done. My baby wants to be in my arms the whole time. That is good job, evolution. So what happens is you get your baby up here and you'll quickly learn to keep moving. You'll quickly learn that any amount of skin to skin here and here helps to soothe and calm the baby. You'll soon learn the hand really nice and firmly on your baby's, do you like that, Dillis? On your baby's bottom, like this, does wonders. Sometimes you really got to pick it up. You've got to get up out that chair. You've got to really move and rock. And now I'm going to put in some white noise. Shh. And initially your baby's still going to be pretty cryy. And people are going to say, well, no wonder your baby's crying and won't sleep. Look at you. I remember someone saying this to me. No wonder your baby's awake, Rachel, because look at you. You're moving and jiggling and patting. But oh my word, if we stopped and we go to put the baby down in their crib, then your baby is highly evolved. The primitive part of the brain is highly evolved to think, where's she gone? Has she left the forest? Are the bears coming? Who's going to look after me? And then reflexes kick off. You're going to see hands going like that. It's called the moral reflex. The fist is going to come up to the mouth. We call that the rooting reflex. You think it means feed me. It doesn't. It means pick me up and soothe me. Let me know that I haven't been abandoned. The baby's going to pull their little legs up. The baby's going to really start crying fast the minute you put that baby down. And also, before the crying starts, you're going to notice weird breathing. It's going to sound a bit like a fat old man who's sleeping on his back, a sort of funny sort of choky coffee noises like that. If you Google it, it'll say reflux. It isn't. It's a highly, highly, brilliantly evolved process to make the baby wake up fast, realise you're not around, do that thing, get that hand up there, start to cry, draw the little legs up, the guts start to go into spasm, everything hurts, everything wrong, the baby's going to kick off. What are you going to do? You're going to say, oh my word, what's wrong? And you're going to pick up the baby. Highly evolved behaviour. If you can hear something going on down there, that's Betty just letting us know that we're ignoring her, and so she's playing with her toy. She's just got a little ball going around a track. So this beautifully, beautifully highly evolved behaviour in your newborn baby, which means that they will settle and sleep in arms. But they're going to sleep in a really, really particular way. They don't sleep in cycles. They will sleep more in the morning hours between about 7 o'clock in the morning and midday, when that baby kind of knows on a deep, highly evolved level that the sun is out, the tribe is up a hunting and a gathering, and they can see the baby, and there's going to be lots of people to take care of them. But in the late afternoon and evening, 5 p.m. onwards, right through the night, when it's dark out there, the bears are out there, and anything could happen. This baby, if it even gets this far from you, if it cannot feel you holding its hand, keeping that skin to skin, I'm in the forest on my own, danger, and the baby's going to come back into arms. So the baby doesn't sleep deep, deep in cycles like you or I might. They deep dive into these tiny little snatched power naps. I say to mums when they're feeding their babies, they've got the baby here having a lovely smoochy, snuggly feed, and the mum's talking to me and she says, but my baby's never asleep. And I say, but the baby's sleeping now. Well, they're feeding, yeah, and they're sleeping. But that doesn't count because it's not real sleep. This is how a baby sleeps. The baby sleeps while they're feeding. The brain is doing all the things it needs to do when it's sleeping. They'll sleep in arms if you're really keeping them busy, but get still, get quiet, get separated, and the baby will kick off, sure as eggs is eggs. This is great. It's nothing to be worried about. It's nothing to cure. Remember that your baby cannot be wrong at being a baby. Your baby's just perfect at being a baby, and you don't need to cure your baby of being a baby. Our job is to watch how the baby is being a baby and respond to that. And the good news is that not only is the baby highly evolved to behave in this way in that first 3 months of life, that fourth trimester, to keep in arms and to keep safe and survive, but you're highly evolved too. So no matter how many people say, don't keep picking the baby up, make sure you put the baby down, because otherwise you're going to make a rod for your own back. Put the baby down, get the baby used to it. Teach the baby a routine. You're not going to be able to, because you're a highly, highly evolved human being over hundreds of thousands of years, so that when your baby does this, little legs going up and down, cries, and the baby's not going to cry until you stop crying, until you pick them up. The minute you go and pick your baby up, the baby starts to calm. And you have to pick them up. If you don't pick them up, if you ignore their cries, if you do what other people tell you to do and leave them to get used to it, let them exercise their lungs. Don't make a rod for your own back. You'll feel awful. Your stomach knots. You'll feel panicky, and you will pick your baby up, because good job, evolution, you are highly evolved. So the more that we go with the baby, the more we soothe the baby, the more we keep that baby moving, then we are fulfilling our human potential, and we're also fulfilling what the baby's highly evolved need is, and our baby will be more soothed. So this is how a baby sleeps, in motion, being patted with some white noise, with some skin to skin, held in firmly so baby feels secure. This is how our little ones do get their sleep. They get their sleep here when they're being fed and snuggled. My babies, my second baby in particular, always used to have a good kip in the bath, because I used to take him in the bath with me, or the bath, but I had a bath. My second son used to have his baths in with me, and that beautiful skin to skin, that time being fed, I used to let him have a nice snuggle at the boob in the bath. Turn the lights down a little bit, and that warm, soothing water. And my second son used to fall asleep, and sometimes I used to hold him in my arms and let him just float in the bath, and that was like the best sleep of his 24 hours each day, frankly. I've got a lovely photograph of my second son kipping in the bath, having a really good sleep in the bath. So babies do sleep, but not like you think. Babies are highly, highly evolved to keep getting themselves in to your arms where they are secure. So I said that the process of this fourth trimester, this highly evolved behaviour, helps your baby to survive. It keeps them in arms, but I said it also helps with the attachment and bonding. And that again is because every time you pick up your baby, every time you soothe your baby, every time you look at your baby, talk to the baby, get skin to skin with the baby, feed your baby, change your baby, rock your baby. We know that things happen within your brain, things happen within the baby's brain, and those things, those neural pathways that are being set up, is what we call bonding and attachment. It sets you and your baby up for life. And all that time in arms, far from making a problem for your baby, we know it is those profound, deep times in arms in that first 3 months of life, that fourth trimester, that helps your baby to be able to be separated later on in babyhood. Helps your baby develop self-soothing strategies much later on down the line, much later on, Dad, much later than your friends and Google will tell you. It helps your baby to find strategies for sleep independence much later down the line. Much later down the line, okay? But it's that first 3 months of life when we fill the baby's bank up so that they can draw on that bank at certain developmental key points in life. They draw on that bank from the first 3 months. It's all happening to help them develop certain strategies to have, the strength, the resilience is the word I'm looking for, the resilience for things that crop up later in life. That's attachment and bonding. But what's happening to you? Changes are happening within your head that make you feel very attached to your baby, and more than that. The first 3 months of life, the 4th trimester, when your baby is actively, highly evolved to keep getting back in your arms where they can sleep, snuggle, stay warm, soothe, feed, nourish emotionally. It helps you to get skilled. Remember I said that when the baby comes out, it's highly evolved to survive a situation when the mum doesn't know what she's doing. And the mum may not know she loves the baby. Well, we've talked about how the baby gets to be loved by you, by all this time in arms, that deep connection. You may not think it's happening. You may think, I hate this process. I don't know how I feel about the baby, but the baby's driving me nuts because it never sleeps. Deep within your brain, you can relax. I promise you, attachment and bonding is taking place. We're highly evolved. But you also learn the skills of being a mum. Why? Now then, everybody says, don't worry, you're going to be able to learn to interpret your baby's cries. No, you're not. Not for the first 3 months of life. For the first 3 months of life, you pick up the baby and say, I don't know what you mean. It all sounds the same. All the cries sound like, feed me. All the time, every cry sounds the same. You think that's not very good evolution. What are you playing at? But it's brilliant evolution because it makes you toggle through everything. Do you need to feed again? You can't possibly need to feed again. I've just fed you 15 times in the space of an hour. You can't be needing that. Is it your nappy? Does your nappy need changing? Oh, we'll change your nappy again. You change the nappy again. Are you warm? Put our hands down the back here between the shoulder blades. Well, you're nice and warm. Maybe you're just bored. We'll do things. So we do everything. We feed them. We change them. We rock them. We soothe them. We check their temperature. We entertain them. Hey, come on. All this time we're learning how to soothe a baby, how to talk to our baby, how to get our baby's responses, get that contact with them. We're learning the things that work. We're learning how to be a mum. So in that first 3 months of life, even if you know nothing, even if you never Google, don't Google. Even if you never pick up a book, put down the book, pick up the baby. Stop reading the book. Start reading your baby because you're highly evolved to keep worrying, to keep thinking, what's wrong with my baby? And doing more and more and more and more stuff over and over and over again. And that's how you get skilled. So your baby's cries all sound the same in that first 3 months of life. And that's a good thing. You're not supposed to be able to interpret them. It's supposed to drive you to worry, what's wrong now? And to keep toggling through. And every time you put your baby down within 10 seconds, the baby's going to start snorting, making funny, choky, coughy noises like that. And sometimes go like that. Sometimes stop breathing for 5 whole seconds. You'll hear that a lot. And that will trigger you in your highly evolved state to pick your baby up again and again and again. So what we've looked at so far, for those of you who are joining, don't forget, if you've got a question, gosh, there's lots of you there. If you've got a question, hi to those who've waved, just pop a question down if you're pregnant, if you've just had your baby, if your baby is much older than this, but you're still thinking, crikey Moses, there was something that happened when my baby was young or is happening now and I just don't understand. I'm Rachel Fitz-D and I'm a baby and parenting expert, and I do babies and children right from the very, very pre-birth right up to teenage years and beyond. And I spent over 30 years as a specialist midwife and infant feeding consultant as well. So drop your questions down if you want to. So what we have talked about so far is how your baby is highly, highly evolved to come into the world. One, obviously, to survive, and two, to forge this deep, lifelong attachment with what people call a primary carer, generally the mum, but it doesn't have to be the mum, whoever is going to be that main person in that baby's life. So to forge this deep, it is an organic attachment, changes within your brain, changes within the baby's brain that make that happen. And it happens through a whole bundle of highly evolved behaviours. And we've thought about how little babies in that first 3 months of life have shed their womb skin, and now they've got their womb skin, they've had their baby acne. And now we've talked about how babies sleep, how they sleep actually really, really well for a baby. Doesn't look like Google tells you, doesn't look like the books tell you, doesn't look like how all the mums who know this stuff because they've been there, doesn't look like how they tell you. Why do mums tell you, oh, your baby should sleep a lot? Because they've read the books. They have talked to other mums in their turn. They, if they're young enough, will have looked on Google. They just thought that their baby was broken too, and they don't want you also to have a broken baby. So we, as women, we perpetuate this myth that babies are supposed to feed and sleep, and if we put them down, they'll sleep. So now we've learnt that babies are highly, highly evolved to sleep in a very particular way. No prolonged deep sleep cycles. That's going to come. I'll tell you in a minute when that's going to come. But these tiny little deep dives, they nod off and then they wake up again every time you move, every time you go to put them down. So when I say moving, I mean moving to put them down. This sort of moving keeps them asleep. They're asleep and you move to go and put them down. They'll wake up. So babies are highly evolved to sleep in human contact, preferably in arms, with movement, with a little bit of noise, like some white noise, with skin to skin. And they're highly, highly evolved to sleep while they're doing other things. So sleeping while they're feeding. So sleep doesn't look like you expect. So when does the baby start to change to sleep in cycles in a way more like you and me? The process starts at the 3rd to 4th month. We can say at the end of that fourth trimester, the first 3 to 4 months of life, 4th trimester, at the end of that, so sort of the 3rd, just tipping into the 4th month, that's when the baby's brain, the sleep center in the brain, goes through a massive developmental change. You'll hear people talk about the sleep regression. The baby doesn't regress. There's a little secret, a little hack for you. Babies don't regress. They're going forward. The baby's going through massive changes. So from the 3rd to 4th month onwards, then the brain, the sleep center in the brain starts to change. The hormones that govern sleep cycles start to come in. The way that babies experience sleep as slightly different in the daytime as in the nighttime starts to develop from the end of that 4th trimester. You know how if you have a nap, it feels different from your nighttime sleep. When you sleep at nighttime, you may wake up and look at the clock, but you kind of know you're not at the end of your night's sleep, even if it's summer and it's quite light outside. We have a rhythm. We're called diurnal. But here's the thing, babies do not start to become diurnal until the end of that 4th trimester. So now we're going to think about another thing, which is babies. We've talked about how they're highly developed to sleep in a very, very particular way. We've talked about how babies are highly, highly evolved in that 4th trimester to have a shedding of their womb skin to get their room skin. And now we're going to think about routines, how the baby should know night from day. Now then, you've just heard me say that babies don't even start to develop towards becoming diurnal till the end of that 4th trimester. Diurnal meaning what humans are. We do our majority of sleeping at night. Even if we have a daytime nap, we're evolved to do our biggest sleeps, our most productive, effective, restorative sleeps at night, overnight, when the moon is out and the sun is down. Babies aren't diurnal, all right? They develop the start of diurnal rhythms from the end of the 4th trimester, and the process is completed by around about the 6th month. So you've got a good 2 to 3 months of changes. So if the baby is not diurnal when that baby is born in that 4th trimester, what is going on? How can we help the baby to become diurnal? Well, we can't, because whether we do everything or nothing, muddle along, your baby's a highly developed human being and this stuff will happen anyway. So you might as well relax and watch more Strictly and Great British Bake Off and snuggle your baby, safe in the knowledge that your baby is just perfect at being a baby. It just doesn't look like the books. So the baby is highly, highly evolved to be, nobody will tell you this, your baby is highly evolved to be unable to learn a routine in that 4th trimester, that first few months of life. Your baby is highly evolved to be unable to learn a routine. And some mums will say, oh, it's rubbish, my baby got into a routine. No, it didn't. We know from thousands of studies of thousands of babies that if you get somebody from outside to look at all these babies and to look at those babies that mums say, oh, my baby's in a brilliant routine, and the mums that say, my baby's not got no routine at all, I haven't got a clue, the person from the outside cannot tell any difference. When you measure the sleep by brain scanning, when you measure baby behaviour, we know that there is no difference in the baby's behaviour, whether the baby is boob fed, bottle fed, mixed fed, whether that mum insists that the baby keeps going down or keeps the baby in arms. There is no difference, but mums describe it differently. So we know that you can take videos of babies and behaviours identical, but mums will call it different things. So we know absolutely, happily, because this is survival mechanism, that part of the baby's highly evolved survival strategy is to be incapable of learning a routine, and certainly not diurnal rhythms. Night from day, forget it. The sleep centre in the brain is switched to baby sleeping. It's not going to switch to diurnal rhythms until between months 3 to 4, end of the 4th trimester, right up till month 6 is when those changes take place. And you think, oh no, this is terrible, but it's great, because it means you can't control it. You don't have to try to control it. And sure, that means that you can't teach your baby good habits. Sure, it means you can't teach your baby good habits. But you know what? it also means that you can't teach your baby bad habits. Think about that. So you can't teach your baby good habits. That's a bit of a downer because we all wish we could teach our baby the difference between night and day. But you can't. But you can't teach your baby bad habits. So the great news is that you can sit down. You think, oh, crikey Moses, I don't want to sit upstairs trying to get you off to sleep, Dillis, because, hey, it's Great British Bake Off and Strictly on Saturday and Mr. Fitz-D is going to make me a curry. I'm going to have curry and a night on the sofa. You can bring the baby along with you. You can take the baby wherever you're going. Doesn't matter. You can sleep when the baby's having their little dozes, as long as if you're putting your baby down safely in their next to me crib or in their little Moses basket, keep that skin to skin. Keep that little bit of skin to skin. Hold them. Keep that Moses basket up tight, close to you. And just that close contact so the baby knows they haven't been abandoned will help the baby to have their little deep dives, remembering that the baby's not going to sleep in cycles. So you keep your baby nice and close, and you can keep your baby up with you all night if necessary, if you're having an all-nighter, and it won't create bad habits. Isn't that great? So all you need to know really is that your baby is just perfect at being a baby. In fact, your baby cannot be wrong at being a baby. Your baby is not broken. Doesn't look like the books, doesn't look like Google, doesn't look like everyone tells you, but I promise you, your baby cannot be wrong at being a baby. You can't cure your baby of being a baby. So happy days, you don't need to try. You don't need to teach your baby how to be a baby. In fact, turn that around. Your baby is highly evolved to trigger responses in you that teach you how to be a mum. You're safe in the hands of evolution. And remember this, that you can soothe your baby. Keep your baby in arms. Keep them close to you. Keep that skin to skin. Keep a patting and a rocking. Warmth. Nice baby massage. Just hands, no oils. Nice warm bath. A pram ride. You like the car as well, don't you? Because of all the humming and the warmth and the jiggling. But when you stop soothing your baby, shh, baby's asleep. Let's put the baby down now. When you stop soothing your baby stops being soothed. Oh my word, me mum's left the forest, back up in arms. So those are the things that you really, really need to know about the 4th trimester. The things that people just don't tell you. So all the mums that I see think that their baby is the broken baby. Everybody else they think has got the baby that sleeps for hours, goes down in their crib, feeds according to a schedule, knows the difference between night and day. It's not true. Your baby isn't the broken baby. Everybody's baby is just fine. They're just highly evolved to do things, to trigger you, to pick them up. So remember that. Your baby is just perfect at being a baby. You can't cure a baby of being a baby. You can respond to your baby, stop reading your book and start reading your baby, and soothe your baby. And if you stop soothing your baby will stop being soothed. And do the things to make you pick them up. So you are safe, ladies. You are safe in the brilliant, brilliant hands of evolution. So those are my parenting hacks, the things that nobody tells you about that particular beautiful time we call the 4th trimester. the more you relax into it and stop trying to cure your baby of being a baby. Just accept the fact that your baby's great at this stuff. It all feels a whole heap easier. There you go. I hope you have enjoyed that. Let me just see. I haven't seen any questions come up. It's usually right at the very, very end, just when you're about to say bye-bye, that questions come up. Lovely to see you. Thank you very, very much, Fit&Well, for letting me keep this little space here this morning. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm Rachel Fitz-D. I am a baby and parenting expert. And you can find me over on my free, closed, women-only group called Rachel Fitz-D, all one word, Rachel Fitz-D Community. Go and find me over there. And if you want to know more about the first year of your baby's life and how your baby is highly evolved to be just perfect at being a baby, then you can get a copy of my book. And if you are a member in my free, closed, women-only Facebook group, Rachel Fitz-D Community, then you can order a book directly from me and I will sign it for you and pop it out to you by post. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you very, very, very much, ladies. Now, go off. I'm going to go and have a nice breakfast. Have yourselves a lovely, lovely day. Thank you very much. Bye for now.